April 15th, 1931, 3:20 p.m., Scarpato's restaurant, Coney Island. Lucky Luciano walked through the front door and immediately spotted Joe Masseria sitting at a cornered table. Masseria was Lucky's boss, the man who'd made him the most powerful Italian mobster in New York. And in exactly 8 minutes, Masseria would be dead, killed by men Lucky had personally hired, at a meeting Lucky had personally arranged, in a trap so perfectly designed that Masseria never saw it coming. But here's what makes this moment legendary. Lucky Luciano walked into that restaurant knowing assassins were already inside. He sat down with the man they were about to kill. He ate lunch with him, laughed with him. And when the shooting started, Lucky calmly walked to the bathroom while 4 men emptied their guns into his boss. This wasn't just murder. This was the moment Lucky Luciano proved he was the most dangerous strategist organized crime had ever seen. Because killing Joe Masseria wasn't about revenge. It was about ending a war that had killed hundreds. It was about replacing chaos with structure. It was about building something that would outlive everyone in that restaurant. This is the story of how Lucky Luciano walked into his own assassination and walked out the architect of modern organized crime. To understand what happened at Scarpato's restaurant, you need to understand the Castellamarese War, the bloodiest conflict in mafia history. It started in 1929 as a power struggle between 2 old-world bosses, Joe Masseria and Salvatore Maranzano. Both were Sicilian. Both believed in the old ways. Both wanted to be boss of bosses. For 2 years, they killed each other's men. Dozens dead, families destroyed. The violence was so bad, it was drawing federal attention. Police raids increased. Prosecutors started building cases. The entire organization was at risk. Lucky Luciano was caught in the middle. He worked for Masseria, but was born in the New World. He didn't care about Sicilian blood feuds or old country grudges. He cared about business. And this war was bad for business. By early 1931, Lucky had made a decision. Both Masseria and Maranzano had to go. The old guard had to be eliminated, not out of personal ambition, though Lucky was ambitious, but because the system they represented was obsolete. Lucky envisioned something different. A commission, 5 families, equal votes, disputes settled through discussion, not bullets. Organized crime run like a corporation, not a medieval kingdom. But to build that future, Lucky had to destroy the past. And that meant killing his own boss. Lucky didn't act alone. He had Meyer Lansky, his closest friend and financial genius. Meyer understood what Lucky was building and supported it completely. Together, they orchestrated something unprecedented. They made a deal with the enemy. March 1931. Lucky met secretly with Salvatore Maranzano's representatives. The meeting was arranged through intermediaries. Too dangerous for Lucky to meet Maranzano directly while still working for Masseria. Lucky's message was simple. I'll give you Masseria. In exchange, you end this war and support a new structure. No more boss of bosses. A commission where all families have equal say. Maranzano agreed. Or at least, Lucky believed he agreed. What Lucky didn't know, but suspected, was that Maranzano was lying. Maranzano had no intention of sharing power. He planned to eliminate Masseria, then eliminate Lucky. But Lucky was already 3 steps ahead. April 15th, 1931. Lucky told Masseria he'd found a safe place to meet. Scarpato's restaurant in Coney Island. Quiet, out of the way, neutral territory. Masseria trusted Lucky completely. Why wouldn't he? Lucky had been loyal for years, made Masseria millions, fought his battles. What Masseria didn't know was that Lucky had already contacted 4 gunmen. Vito Genovese, Albert Anastasia, Joe Adonis, and Bugsy Siegel. All vetted, all trusted, all waiting inside the restaurant. At 3:20 p.m., Lucky and Masseria walked in together. They ordered food, talked business. Masseria was relaxed, laughing. He had no idea this was his last meal. At 3:28 p.m., Lucky excused himself. "I gotta use the bathroom." Masseria waved him off, still eating. Lucky walked toward the back of the restaurant. The bathroom door closed behind him. That was the signal. 4 men stood up from different tables. They pulled out revolvers. They walked toward Masseria's table. Masseria saw them. His hand went toward his jacket, reaching for his gun. Too late. The first shot hit him in the back, the second in the shoulder. Masseria tried to stand. A third shot to the chest knocked him back into his chair. A fourth, a fifth. 20 shots total. 6 hit Masseria. The rest shattered windows, embedded in walls. Masseria slumped forward onto the table. Dead, the 4 gunmen walked out the front door. Calmly, no running, no panic, just 4 men leaving a restaurant. Inside the bathroom, Lucky Luciano waited. He heard the shots, counted them, waited for silence. Then he walked out. Lucky looked at Masseria's body, felt for a pulse he knew wouldn't be there. Then he picked up the restaurant phone and called the police. "There's been a shooting at Scarpato's. Joe Masseria is dead. I'm Lucky Luciano. I was in the bathroom when it happened. I didn't see anything." When the police arrived, they found Lucky sitting at a different table, smoking a cigarette. He gave a statement. Described hearing shots, running to the bathroom to hide, coming out to find his boss dead. The police didn't believe him. They knew Lucky was involved, but they couldn't prove it. No witnesses, no evidence. The gunman had vanished. Lucky was released after 6 hours of questioning. He walked out of the police station and immediately went to meet Meyer Lansky. "It's done," Lucky said. "Maranzano's going to think he won," Meyer replied. "Let him. We'll deal with Maranzano next." Because Lucky had always known Maranzano would betray him. The old boss wanted the same thing Masseria wanted, total control. Maranzano would never accept a commission. So Lucky had already planned Maranzano's death too. 5 months later, on September 10th, 1931, Lucky sent a team of killers disguised as federal agents to Maranzano's office. They shot him multiple times and stabbed him for good measure. With both old bosses dead, Lucky called a meeting of all the major families. He proposed the commission, 5 families, equal representation, rules instead of blood feuds. Every family agreed. Because Lucky had just proven he could eliminate anyone who didn't. The commission was born, and Lucky Luciano became its architect, not through force, but through intelligence. But here's the part nobody talks about. The psychological weight of what Lucky did that day at Scarpato's restaurant. Lucky walked into a trap he'd created, sat with a man who trusted him completely, ate lunch while knowing assassins were watching, then walked away while that man was murdered. Most men couldn't do that. Most men would show nervousness, guilt, fear, something. Lucky showed nothing. Years later, in the 1950s, a reporter asked Meyer Lansky about the Masseria hit. How could Lucky sit there so calmly, knowing what was about to happen? Meyer's answer was chilling. Because Lucky understood something most people don't. Sentiment is expensive. Masseria had to die for the organization to live. Lucky made a calculation. He chose the organization. That's what separated Lucky from every other mobster. He could make the impossible calculation. He could sacrifice personal loyalty for systemic stability. Masseria trusted Lucky like a son, and Lucky killed him anyway. Not out of hatred, not out of ambition, out of necessity. Because the Castellamarese War was destroying organized crime. Hundreds dead. Federal heat increasing. The old bosses were killing the golden goose. Lucky saved it by eliminating them. April 15th, 1931 was the day the old mafia died. The day blood feuds and Sicilian traditions were replaced with business principles and structured governance. Joe Masseria bled out on a checkered tablecloth in Coney Island, while Lucky Luciano stood in a bathroom waiting. When Lucky emerged, he wasn't just a killer, he was a founder. The commission he built that year still exists, modified, evolved. But fundamentally the same structure Lucky designed in 1931. 5 families, equal votes, disputes settled internally, all because Lucky Luciano had the intelligence to see what needed to happen and the ruthlessness to make it happen. People remember the Masseria hit as a famous mafia killing. But it was more than that. It was a revolution disguised as a murder. Lucky didn't just kill his boss, he killed an entire era. And he did it by walking into a restaurant, eating lunch, and going to the bathroom at exactly the right moment. That's not violence. That's precision. That's genius.